Hey everybody, Nate here from WASD20, and today I am going to be showing you how to take a hand-drawn map, like this one right here, and digitally turn it into a centuries-old, kind of aged, papery, parchmenty looking thing that will look a little bit more awesome. Something like this. And today we are going to be doing that using Gimp. Gimp is a free open source program that I definitely recommend you check out. It's pretty comparable to Photoshop in a lot of ways, except it's free. And I've been using it for a little while now and slowly starting to learn more and more. I'm certainly not an expert, so those experts out there, if you see something I'm doing that could be done more quickly or better, let me know. But yeah, we want to start by obviously scanning our image. So I just used a flatbed scanner and took my map of Inchar and I've scanned it in. You could also take a photo with your phone or on a digital camera, and there are ways that you can get that to get cleaned up pretty well that it looks like a scanned image. And I'll put a link in the description below to a way that Fantastic Maps, who's one of my go-to sources, has recommended doing that. A lot of what I'm doing today is going to be from Fantastic Maps, his tutorials. So I've got my image and I have opened it in Gimp. This is Gimp 2.8. Now, if you're totally new to Gimp, you might have a bit of a learning curve here, but it is pretty simple. First thing you might notice is that mine is dark gray and black, and that's just because I have a theme installed. You don't need themes, but if you want to, there's lots of them out there. A couple other things here. I have mine in single window mode. So if you go to Windows, single window mode, and that just puts everything together. Otherwise, by default, some of these things on the edges are out in separate little windows, and some people prefer that, but this is the way I like it. You want to make sure that you have some of these basics selected here, and I think that the way I got these, if I remember correctly, is I went here to dockable dialogues and I had layers there. There it is. And then the other one that I think I did was tool options over here. So anyway, if you're struggling with some of the basics, it might be a good idea just to look up GIMP tutorials online just to learn a little bit of the basics. There are some really good tutorials out there. And the next thing I want to do is I also want to import an aged paper background or an aged paper image of some kind. So I've got a few, and I'm just going to drag one over here. You can find a lot of these on DeviantArt, Google Image Search, and other sources. Just be careful of the rights, for reuse for the image you may be using. And let's see. So at this time, these are my layers here on the right, and the aged paper is behind it. I can put it up front here, drag it up there, and you can see that now it is above my paper. And you can see it's way too small, so we need to scale that. And the way I'm going to do that, my image here, by the way, is pretty big. It's bigger than what I needed to. I went a little overkill. That's okay. And I'm just going to drag it now. I'm not too concerned about stretching my aged paper. If you are concerned, you can always lock it right here by clicking the chain link there. But mine's close enough, and I want to make it a little bit bigger just to make sure I'm covering it all. And then I hit scale. So again, that was the scale tool over here, and now it is slowly scaling. Alright, now we've got a problem though. It's over our image. Now I got a problem, our image is over it. So the best thing to do here is to click on your image, and we want to change the mode from normal to multiply. Voila. So that's the big step. Now you could just leave it right here. That's totally doable. But I usually like to make the water a little darker. So if you're happy with it this way, go for it. It looks pretty good. But stick around with me a minute if you want to learn a couple other tips to improve the look of it. So the first thing we need to do is make sure we're going to be using our bucket fill tool. We need to make sure that all the edges of our image are completely sealed off so that when we use our bucket fill tool, it doesn't go into the land, it only stays in the water. So I know there's a couple spots on this one, and I'm going to take my brush tool here. There's a couple spots that I know are going to need to be sealed. I'm going to use black, select the color there, okay. And I've got my brush tool selected. Make sure you have your brush set to round or something over here and it's not just on the blank there. And you want to make sure you have the right layers selected. I have the Inchar new, and now I'm going to zoom in on this little area right here, and you can see that Yeah, that's an area I know didn't quite get the edge, so I'm going to make sure it does register that so that it doesn't fill on my land. Now, some of this is trial and error. You can try the bucket fill tool, but I'm going to go around and just look around here. So I'll skip this part in the video, and you'll just want to go around on yours and make sure all your edges are filled. Alright, so I went around my image and I took my black brush and I filled in any areas that might get filled in by the bucket. And now what I've done is I've selected the bucket fill tool and I've selected a color, and you want to go with something, you're going to have to experiment a little bit to see what looks good with your paper basically. But I want to go with something sort of beigey, grayish, just very subtle, just so that it's not going to be a lot darker. So if I fill it in now using that color, it's pretty good. See? Now, there are going to be a lot of areas you need to fill, like stuff like this. And if you've used my coastline technique, I'm sorry, because there are probably going to be some coastline areas you need to fill too. Like I can see one right here. Go in and fill all the rivers. And so some of this stuff can take a bit of time. So again, I'm going to skip ahead here and we're going to see how it looks when we're done. Alright, I've gone through and I had to seal up a few more areas, but I think I've about got the water completed here. I see, oh, wrong color there. Change back to this. I just noticed one other area here. And, oh, we can zoom way in and get that. Alright, so anyway, I've filled it in. And there are a couple more steps. Again, you could be done here, and normally I would be. If you are planning to add more color, let's say you're planning to color trees and other things and some of the land, one thing that Fantastic Maps recommends doing, and this can also help kind of intensify some of the black lines as well, we can change the opacity. Well, first of all, let's duplicate this layer. So we duplicate our map layer. You can see that makes it darker. Now if we change this one to opacity down to about 50% is what he recommends. And then on the top one, we're going to change the mode from multiply to burn. Now both of these modes will make your whites transparent. And that's really the value in doing that, so that we can see the aged paper through all of the white, right? But this can kind of bring a new intensity to a lot of the colors. Now, this, in my case, I would probably want to go back and I would have to experiment and try to find a color that looks a little better, because I'm not sure I like this too much. Now, first of all, he does recommend actually bringing the opacity down to, I think it was 70% on your burn layer, so that does help a little bit. But it still is a little intense and yellow for me, and so, you know, you can play around with the colors a little bit and try to get a color that you think works best. But that's what he recommends, especially if you are using other colors too that can really kind of make the colors pop and give it kind of a cool aged watercolor feel. So anyway, I'll put the link to his full tutorials down in the description below, but I wanted to make a video showing this off and how I've kind of stumbled across this process, and really think that it can add to your maps. So give it a shot. You can always even print it out afterwards and then do the whole like crumpling and folding and maybe even tearing and burning technique to really add to the look of your maps at the gaming table. Alright, if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you down below. So yeah, just leave them there, and everybody take care. You'll see me again very soon.